My name is Dominic, and I'm 68 years old. For 3 months now, my son Marcus has called me every single night at exactly 9:47 p.m. The ritual never changes. His first words are always the same. "Are you alone, Dad?" When I answer yes, he immediately hangs up. When I say no, he interrogates me relentlessly about every visitor. Tonight, my instincts screamed danger louder than ever before. As the phone rang, I made a fateful decision. For the first time, I lied, claiming I was alone while my neighbor Harold sat across from me sipping coffee. What unfolded next revealed a conspiracy that shattered everything I believed about my family. The Connecticut autumn had painted my suburban neighborhood in shades of gold and crimson, but inside my colonial home, darkness had been creeping in for months. As a retired federal judge, I'd spent 42 years reading people, detecting lies, uncovering truth. Yet somehow I'd missed the danger growing within my own family. My wife Eleanor had passed 2 years ago. We'd built a beautiful life together in Westport, raising our 2 sons in this very house. Marcus, now 42, had followed my footsteps into law, though he'd chosen corporate practice over public service. Bradley, 39, became a financial consultant. Both had seemed supportive after Eleanor's death, helping with arrangements, checking on me regularly. Then, 3 months ago, everything changed. The nightly calls started innocuously enough. Marcus expressed concern about my living alone, wanted to ensure I was safe. Sweet, I thought initially. A devoted son worried about his aging father. But patterns emerged that triggered my judicial instincts. First, Marcus never called from the same number twice. My phone displayed different numbers each night, various area codes, sometimes blocked entirely. When I asked about this, he claimed work phones, borrowed cells, international business trips. Plausible explanations that felt rehearsed. Second, the background noises constantly shifted. Sometimes I heard traffic, other times complete silence, occasionally muffled voices. Once, I distinctly heard airport announcements, though Marcus claimed to be home. He was lying about his locations, but why? Third, his questions followed disturbing patterns. When I mentioned having visitors, his interrogation focused on specific people. Was your financial advisor there? Did you sign anything? Or, did Dr. Matthews stop by? What did you discuss about your health? Most unnervingly, has that estate attorney come around again? You're not changing anything, are you? Dad. The questions felt less like concern and more like surveillance. My years on the bench had taught me that when someone monitors your activities this closely, they're planning something. I began documenting the calls in a journal, noting times, questions, background sounds. The pattern was undeniable. Marcus was tracking my interactions with anyone who might influence my finances or health decisions. But understanding the pattern didn't explain the motive. 3 weeks into this strange ritual, I tested a theory. I deliberately mentioned meeting with my accountant to discuss tax strategies. Marcus's voice tightened immediately. What kind of strategies? You're not moving assets around, are you? His panic was palpable through the phone. Just routine planning. I assured him, though, I'd actually met the accountant for lunch to discuss his grandchildren. The next day, Marcus appeared at my door unannounced, something he hadn't done in months. He casually asked to review my financial statements, claiming he wanted to ensure I wasn't being scammed. His eyes darted constantly to my desk, my files, searching for something. That evening, I retreated to Eleanor's craft room untouched since her passing. Her scent still lingered faintly, lavender and oil paint. I missed her wisdom desperately. She'd always been the perceptive one, reading people's intentions like open books. As I boxed her belongings for donation, I discovered her journal tucked behind paint supplies. Most entries chronicled our daily life, grandchildren visits, garden planning, art class adventures. But the final entry, written 3 days before her death, changed everything. I fear what Marcus might do when I'm gone, her elegant handwriting revealed. Dominic trusts too easily, especially with family. I've watched our eldest son change, seen greed replace love in his eyes. The way he asks about our finances, pushes for power of attorney, insists on managing our investments. Something sinister lurks beneath his concern. If anything happens to me, it won't be the accident it appears. I've hidden the evidence in the place where we first kissed. Protect yourself, my love. Trust no one. My hands trembled as I read her words. Eleanor's accidental fall down our stairs suddenly felt orchestrated. The woman who'd navigated those steps for 30 years, who practiced yoga 3 times weekly, who prided herself on balance and grace, she didn't simply trip. I remembered that morning vividly. Eleanor had seemed disoriented at breakfast, complained of dizziness. Marcus had been visiting, had made her tea. I'd found her at the bottom of our staircase an hour later, neck twisted at an impossible angle. The autopsy showed traces of sedatives, but the medical examiner dismissed them as her prescribed anxiety medication. Now Eleanor's words recontextualized everything. The nightly calls weren't about concern, they were surveillance. Marcus was monitoring whether I was alone, vulnerable, unprotected. But surveillance for what purpose? I thought about confronting him directly, but Eleanor's warning echoed, trust no one. If she was right, if Marcus had orchestrated her death, then I was in danger. A confrontation might accelerate whatever plan he'd crafted. Instead, I decided to play along while investigating quietly. Tomorrow, I'd visit our old college campus, find where we'd shared our first kiss, discover what Eleanor had hidden. For now, I maintained the charade, answering Marcus's call that night, with practiced normalcy. "Are you alone, Dad?" "Yes, son. Just watching the news." "Good. Sleep well." The line went dead, but I knew sleep would elude me. My son had become my enemy, and I needed to understand why before it was too late. Dawn broke gray and misty as I drove toward Yale, where Eleanor and I had met 50 years ago. Every mile carried memories: our first date at a New Haven pizza joint, studying together in Sterling Library, walking hand in hand through East Rock Park. But today's pilgrimage had darker purposes. Eleanor's clue was specific: the place where we first kissed. That magical moment had happened in Battelle Chapel after a Christmas concert, December 15th, 1974. We'd lingered after everyone left, talking about dreams and futures. Under the vaulted ceiling, surrounded by stained glass filtering moonlight, she'd kissed me softly and changed my life forever. The chapel stood unchanged, its Gothic architecture defying time. I entered the hushed sanctuary, memories flooding back. The same wooden pews, the same ethereal light, the same sense of sacred space. But now, I was hunting for secrets, not reliving romance. I found our pew, third row from the back left side, where we'd always sat during our college years. My arthritis protested as I knelt, running my hands underneath the wooden seat. Nothing. I checked the hymnal rack, the kneeler growing frustrated. Then my fingers found an inconsistency, a small envelope taped far back under the pew, invisible, unless you knew to search. Inside was a brass safety deposit box key, and a note in Eleanor's handwriting: Westport Savings and Loan Box 473. The combination is our anniversary. Be careful, my love. I drove directly to the bank, my judicial composure masking inner turmoil. The box required 2 keys, the physical key Eleanor had hidden, and a combination. Our anniversary, 082176. The lock clicked open. The contents made my blood freeze. Eleanor had assembled a devastating portfolio. Medical records I'd never seen, dated 1 week before her death. A different doctor had ordered comprehensive blood work after Eleanor complained of unexpected drowsiness and confusion. The results showed dangerous levels of benzodiazepine, far exceeding her prescribed dose. Handwritten notes indicated Eleanor suspected someone was drugging her tea. Bank statements from accounts I didn't know existed. Over 18 months, someone had systematically transferred money from our joint savings, small amounts, carefully spaced, to avoid detection. The transfers went to an account in Marcus's name, accumulating to over $300,000. Photographs that chilled me. Marcus meeting repeatedly with a woman I didn't recognize, attractive mid-40s professional appearance. The photos spanned several months, showing them at restaurants, entering hotels, exchanging documents. Their body language suggested intimacy beyond business. Finally, a USB drive labeled simply insurance. I left the bank, fighting nausea and rage. Back home, I locked every door, drew every curtain, and inserted the USB into my laptop. Eleanor's face appeared on screen, recorded in our bedroom, while I'd been at a judicial conference. She looked tired, frightened, but determined. Dominic, if you're watching this, then my fears have come true. I've discovered something terrible about Marcus. The woman he's been seeing isn't just a girlfriend. She's Patricia Hensley, a nurse who specializes in elder care. But that's just her cover. I've done research, hired a private investigator without telling you. She targets wealthy families, seduces sons or daughters, convinces them their inheritance is at risk. Eleanor's voice cracked with emotion. I have recordings, Dominic. Hidden cameras I installed after noticing Marcus's strange behavior. Please understand, I didn't want to believe our son capable of this. But the evidence is undeniable. The video shifted to surveillance footage. Marcus and Patricia in our living room while we were out. Their conversation was crystal clear. How much longer? Patricia asked, reviewing papers that looked like our financial documents. Mom's getting suspicious, Marcus replied. We might need to accelerate things. The sedatives I gave you should keep her manageable. Increase the dose gradually. Once she has an accident, we'll have a year to get your father declared incompetent. Dr. Harrison is ready with the diagnosis whenever we need it. And Bradley? Patricia laughed coldly. Your brother's handling the offshore accounts. He's weak, but greedy, perfect combination. He'll take his cut and stay quiet. My youngest son, too. The betrayal doubled, crushing what remained of my paternal heart. The recordings continued, each more damning than the last. Marcus discussing insurance policies, questioning Patricia about undetectable drugs, planning how to manipulate me after Eleanor's death. The final recording was from the night before Eleanor died. Tomorrow morning. Marcus's voice was casual, discussing murder like weather. I'll make her tea triple the dose. She'll be dizzy within an hour. The stairs will do the rest. Make it look natural. And if she survives? She won't. I'll make sure of that. Eleanor's face reappeared on screen. I'm going to confront them tomorrow, Dominic. If something happens to me, you'll know why. I've made copies of everything, hidden them, where only you would look. Don't let them win. Don't let our son get away with this. I love you forever. The video ended. I sat in devastating silence, processing the magnitude of betrayal. My wife hadn't fallen, she'd been murdered. My sons hadn't grieved, they'd celebrated. The nightly phone calls suddenly made perfect sense. Marcus was checking if I was alone, vulnerable, ready for the next phase of their plan. 9:47 approached. The phone rang precisely on time. Are you alone, Dad? For the first time in 3 months, I lied with purpose. Yes, Marcus. All alone. Good. Hey, I was thinking of stopping by tomorrow. We need to discuss some financial matters. Of course, son. Whatever you need. I hung up my path clear. Eleanor had gathered evidence, expecting to confront them herself. Instead, she died for it. But her sacrifice wouldn't be in vain. I had what I needed to destroy them, but I had to be smarter than Eleanor. No confrontations, no warnings, just a careful, methodical plan to ensure justice. Looking at our wedding photo on the mantel, I made a promise. They'll pay for what they did to you, Eleanor. Every last one of them. Sleep eluded me that night as I formulated my strategy. By dawn, I'd outlined a plan worthy of my 42 years on the bench. Justice required evidence, patience, and careful orchestration. Emotion would be my enemy. Cold calculation, my salvation. My first call went to Samuel Morrison, a retired FBI agent who testified in my courtroom dozens of times. We'd developed a friendship based on mutual respect for the law. If anyone could help me navigate this nightmare while staying within legal bounds, it was Sam. Dominic, Christ, it's been too long. How are you holding up? I need your help, Sam. It's about Eleanor. She didn't fall. Silence stretched between us. Then quietly, I'll be there in an hour. Sam arrived, looking unchanged, despite retirement sharp eyes that missed nothing. Silver hair, still military short movements, economical and purposeful. I showed him everything, watched his expression darken with each revelation. Jesus, Dominic, your own boys. Both of them, apparently. Bradley's handling financial crimes while Marcus commits murder. Sam studied the evidence with professional detachment. This is solid, but we need more. Patricia Hensley. I want to know everything about her. And we need to catch them actively committing crimes, not just talking about past ones. We developed a multi-pronged approach. Sam would investigate Patricia's background and patterns. I'd hire a private investigator to track current activities. Meanwhile, I'd play the vulnerable elder, giving them rope to hang themselves. We need surveillance in your home, Sam insisted. Legal warranted everything by the book. I still have contacts who can expedite judicial approval given the circumstances. Within 3 days, my house bristled with hidden cameras and recording devices. Every room, every angle, all feeding to secure cloud storage with backup systems. If they planned to drug me like Eleanor, we'd document every moment. The private investigator, Rebecca Chen, came highly recommended by Sam. Former military intelligence, she specialized in financial crimes and had a gift for uncovering hidden connections. Her initial report on Patricia Hensley was staggering. She's been doing this for 12 years, Rebecca explained, spreading documents across my dining table. 7 states, always the same pattern. She identifies wealthy, elderly targets, usually widowed or isolated. Then she cultivates relationships with their adult children, romantic or business partnerships. The elder always dies within 18 months. How many victims? Confirmed 17 deaths, ruled natural or accidental. Suspected at least 40 more. She's careful, changes locations before authorities notice patterns. Total stolen assets exceed $50 million. And she's never been caught. Rebecca's expression hardened. She targets families already showing signs of discord. Greedy children make perfect accomplices. They rarely report crimes they participated in. Your situation is unique. Usually no one fights back. What about the doctor Marcus mentioned, Harrison? Dr. Emil Harrison. Geriatric specialist, pristine reputation publicly. But he's appeared in 3 of Patricia's previous cities, always affiliated with care facilities where victims died. He provides medical cover diagnoses of dementia, prescriptions for drugs that interact fatally, death certificates listing natural causes. The scope of their operation stunned me. This wasn't just about my family's money. We'd stumbled onto a serial killing ring, targeting society's most vulnerable. There's more, Rebecca continued. Patricia owns several elderly care facilities through shell companies. Your son Marcus is listed as an investor in 2 of them. The offshore accounts Bradley manages. They're funding expansion into new markets. My sons weren't just accomplices. They were business partners in a murder enterprise. Playing my role required Oscar-worthy performance. During Marcus's next visit, I shuffled more, then walked, repeated questions, forgot where I'd placed items. His eyes lit up with predatory satisfaction. Dad, you seem confused lately. Maybe we should have you evaluated. Evaluated for what? Just to ensure you're okay. I worry about you living alone. I let my voice quaver. Your mother always handled our appointments. I miss her so much. Sometimes I forget she's gone. Marcus leaned forward eagerly. You've mentioned seeing her. When does that happen? Oh, just glimpses. In her garden, at her easel. Dr. Matthews says it's grief manifesting. Maybe we should get a second opinion. I know an excellent specialist, Dr. Harrison. He could visit you here, make it convenient. If you think it's best, son. Marcus left, barely containing his excitement. I'd given him exactly what he wanted, a confused old man showing signs of dementia. That evening, Sam called with urgent news. We've got a problem. Rebecca's surveillance caught something. Patricia met with someone new today, a man named Vincent Caruso. He's mob-connected, specializes in making problems disappear. They're accelerating their timeline. That's my read. How do you want to play this? I made the hardest decision of my judicial career. We let them proceed, but controlled. I need them to attempt their plan while we're watching. It's the only way to ensure prosecution. That's dangerous as hell, Dominic. Eleanor died without justice. I won't make her mistake. The next morning, I executed the most crucial part of my strategy. Using an attorney Marcus didn't know existed, I restructured my entire estate. Everything went into an irrevocable trust with Sam as executor. Even if they declared me incompetent, killed me, or forged documents, they couldn't touch a penny. The trust had one beneficiary, a charity for elder abuse victims I'd establish in Eleanor's name. I also recorded my own video testimony, detailing everything I'd discovered to be released upon my death or incapacitation. Copies went to the FBI State Attorney General and major news outlets. If they succeeded in killing me, they'd trigger an investigation they couldn't escape. But I had no intention of dying. Eleanor had confronted them directly and lost. I'd be smarter, subtler, letting them walk into their own trap. During our nightly call, Marcus probed deeper. Dad, I've scheduled an appointment with Dr. Harrison for next week. Just routine cognitive testing. Whatever you think is best. You know I trust your judgment. Good. And Dad, maybe avoid having visitors for a few days. You need rest. Of course, I'll tell Harold not to come by. Harold's been visiting. I heard the sharp interest in his voice. Just for coffee sometimes. But I'll tell him I need space. That's wise. We'll take care of everything, Dad. You just rest. After hanging up, I reviewed the recording. Marcus's tone when mentioning Harold revealed their fear. Witnesses complicated their plans. They needed me isolated, vulnerable, without anyone to notice changes or raise alarms. I wouldn't give them that satisfaction. Harold would continue visiting, hidden from their surveillance. Sam had agents ready to intervene. Rebecca tracked their every move. The trap was set, waiting for them to spring it themselves. In war, the best generals choose their battlefields. They'd chosen mine, this house, where Eleanor and I raised our family, where she took her last breath, where they planned my demise. But this battlefield held advantages they didn't expect. Every corner held memories that strengthened my resolve. Every room contained evidence of their betrayal. Standing in Eleanor's studio that night, surrounded by her unfinished paintings, I felt her presence strongly. Not the confused glimpses I'd performed for Marcus, but genuine connection to her fighting spirit. Almost there, my love, I whispered to her portrait. They think they're hunting me, but the prey has become the predator. Justice is coming. Dr. Emil Harrison arrived precisely at 10 a.m. the following Tuesday, carrying a leather medical bag that seemed more prop than tool. He was younger than I'd expected, mid-50s, with carefully styled gray hair and a practiced smile that never reached his eyes. Marcus accompanied him, playing the concerned son perfectly. Mr. Dominic, what a pleasure to meet you. Harrison's voice oozed false warmth. Marcus has told me so much about you. 42 years as a federal judge, quite impressive. I shuffled to my armchair, letting my hands tremble slightly. Thank you, Doctor. Though I sometimes struggle to remember cases now. The mind isn't what it used to be. Harrison exchanged a meaningful glance with Marcus. They thought they had me. Well, that's perfectly natural at your age. I'd like to run some simple tests, just to establish a baseline. Nothing invasive, just questions and observations. For the next hour, I deliberately failed every assessment. When asked to remember 3 words, I forgot 2. Drawing a clock, I placed numbers randomly. Asked about current events, I mentioned presidents from decades past. Hidden cameras captured every moment, including Harrison's growing satisfaction. Now, Mr. Dominic, tell me about your daily routine. Any confusion? Moments of disorientation? Sometimes I wake up expecting Eleanor to be there. I hear her voice, see her in the garden. Is that normal? Harrison leaned forward, barely concealing excitement. You see your deceased wife. How often? Most days, we have conversations. She tells me things. What kind of things? I let my eyes go distant, unfocused. Warnings, mostly. She says people are trying to hurt me. Silly, isn't it? Who would want to hurt an old man? Marcus interrupted quickly. Dad's been paranoid lately, checking locks obsessively, claiming people are watching him. Classic symptoms. Harrison nodded, scribbling notes. Mr. Dominic, I'm going to recommend a more thorough evaluation. Perhaps a short stay at a specialized facility for observation. Facility. I let fear creep into my voice. You mean a hospital? Think of it more as a retreat. Sunset memories. Care home. I'm the medical director. Beautiful grounds, excellent staff, gourmet meals. Just a few days to properly assess your needs. The same facility where Patricia worked, where 17 elderly people had died. They weren't even trying to be subtle anymore. I'd rather stay home. Marcus gripped my shoulder too firmly to be comforting. Dad, you need help. We're worried about you. What if you fall like Mom? The threat was barely veiled. I pretended not to notice. If you think it's best, son. That evening, they moved with practiced efficiency. Marcus arrived with Patricia, whom he introduced as a patient advocate from the facility. She was exactly as the photos had shown, attractive in a calculated way, with cold eyes that assessed my home's value, even as she smiled. Mr. Dominic, we're here to help you transition comfortably, she purred. Dr. Harrison has authorized an immediate evaluation hold based on today's assessment. It's for your own safety. The documents they produced were impressive forgeries, commitment papers, requiring 2 physician signatures. Harrison had provided one. The other was a doctor I'd never heard of, but whose signature looked suspiciously similar to Harrison's. I haven't packed, I protested weakly. We'll handle everything, Marcus assured me, already moving toward the stairs. Just grab essentials. Patricia will help you. While they ransacked my bedroom, I triggered the emergency alert. Sam had installed a simple button, disguised as a medical alert device. Help would come, but not immediately. We needed them to commit fully to their crime. Patricia stayed close, her perfume cloying and artificial. You have such a lovely home, Mr. Dominic. Your wife had excellent taste. Eleanor chose everything. I just paid the bills. And substantial bills, I'm sure. Marcus mentioned you've done very well. Investments, judicial pension, family trusts. Even now, she was calculating my worth. The drive to Sunset Memories took 40 minutes through Connecticut countryside. The facility appeared respectable, converted mansion, on manicured grounds, discreet signage, suggesting exclusivity rather than imprisonment. But I noticed the security cameras, the locked gates, the windows with decorative bars that were still bars. Inside, the horror was subtle, but pervasive. Elderly residents sat in common areas, over-medicated into docility. Their eyes held the vacant stare of the chemically restrained. Staff members moved with rehearsed cheerfulness, but I caught glimpses of rough handling when they thought no one was watching. My room was small but clean, clearly designed to impress visiting families before they abandoned their elders. Patricia personally supervised my intake, which involved confiscating my wallet, phone, and potentially harmful items, like my nail clippers and electric razor. For your safety, she explained. We can't have confused residents hurting themselves. They assigned me a roommate, Gerald Morrison, no relation to Sam, who'd been there 3 months. His family had committed him after a mild stroke, trusting the facility's reputation. Now, he lay in bed, barely responsive, though his eyes tracked movement with desperate awareness. Once alone, I knelt beside his bed, pretending to adjust my shoes. Gerald, I whispered, can you understand me? The slightest nod. His eyes filled with tears. Are they drugging you? Another nod, more emphatic. Your family. He managed to mouth a single word, dead. My blood chilled. His daughter had died in a car accident shortly after committing him, brake failure, on a clear day. Classic Vincent Caruso work. That evening, Patricia personally delivered my medications, 3 pills I didn't recognize. Dr. Harrison prescribed these for your anxiety and confusion. She explained, watching carefully as I placed them in my mouth. I'd learned the tongue-fold trick from a defendant years ago, seeming to swallow while securing pills in a pocket of flesh. Once she left, I spat them into tissue paper, saving them as evidence. The drugs were powerful. Within an hour, other residents who'd taken theirs could barely keep their eyes open. By morning, 2 couldn't remember their own names. This wasn't treatment. It was chemical imprisonment. On my second night, I overheard Patricia and Marcus through the thin walls. "He's more resistant than expected," Patricia complained. "The standard dose isn't working." "Double it. We need him compliant before the competency hearing." That could be dangerous. At his age. Mom was his age. It worked fine on her. Patricia laughed. "Your mother got sloppy, started recording things. Your father won't get that chance. Vincent's already handled his lawyer friend car accident tomorrow. That FBI buddy will get the message." My heart stopped. Sam was in danger because of me. "What about Bradley?" Patricia continued. "He's getting nervous." "My brother's a coward, but not stupid. He knows what happens to loose ends. He'll stay quiet and count his money." Speaking of money, when do we move on the estate? Give it 2 weeks. Enough time for Dad to deteriorate naturally. Then cardiac arrest, tragic, but not unexpected given his mental decline. Dr. Harrison's already pre-signed the death certificate. They had every detail planned, including my death date. But they'd made one crucial error. They didn't know about the cameras I'd hidden in my belongings, transmitting every word to law enforcement. They didn't know Sam had anticipated the car accident threat and was currently in protective custody. Most importantly, they didn't know I'd been taking only half the sedatives, maintaining enough clarity to document everything. On the 3rd day, Dr. Harrison visited for my evaluation. He performed perfunctory tests while describing my rapid deterioration to Patricia. Classic aggressive dementia. See how he can't follow simple commands. Within a week, he'll need full-time restraints for his own safety. I drooled slightly, letting my head loll. Inside, I memorized every word for the testimony I'd eventually give. That night, I made my move. Gerald had moments of clarity between drug doses. During one, I whispered urgently, "Help is coming. Federal agents, state police. Can you hold on 2 more days?" His eyes blazed with sudden hope. "They killed daughter," he managed. "I know. We'll get justice for her too. But I need you to stay strong." He gripped my hand with surprising strength. We were 2 old men fighting for our lives, but we weren't alone anymore. The 4th morning brought unexpected visitors. Bradley arrived with a woman I recognized from photos, Rebecca Chen, my private investigator posing as a financial advisor. My younger son looked haggard, stressed, playing his part perfectly. "Dad," Bradley's voice cracked. "I'm so sorry it's come to this. But we need to discuss the estate. For tax purposes, it would be better if you assigned power of attorney now, while you still have some capacity." Rebecca produced documents, all completely legitimate looking. I signed with shaking hands, knowing these papers were actually evidence forms documenting their attempted fraud. Every signature they collected was another nail in their legal coffin. Patricia watched from the doorway, satisfied. They thought they'd won. That night, she entered my room with a syringe instead of pills. "Doctor's orders," she said smoothly. "This will help you rest." As she approached, I made my choice. Weak and disoriented, I couldn't fight. But I could ensure evidence. "Please," I whimpered, raising my arm. "I'm frightened." She smiled, that cold predator's smile, and injected me in full view of 3 hidden cameras. The drug hit hard, not the gentle sedative she'd described, but something harsh, disorienting. My vision blurred, heart raced. But I'd survived worse in my years on the bench. I held on, knowing rescue was hours away. Through the haze, I heard Patricia on her phone. "It's done. He won't last the night. Get the cremation orders ready. We can't risk an autopsy. I closed my eyes, slowed my breathing, played dead, while fighting the drug's effects with every ounce of will. Eleanor's voice seemed to whisper, "Hold on, my love. Justice is coming." Dawn was breaking when the cavalry arrived. The raid began at 5:47 a.m., with the subtlety of thunder. Federal agents stormed Sunset Memories while state police secured the perimeter. I heard shouting doors slamming, Patricia's shrill protests echoing through hallways. Despite the drugs still clouding my system, I felt savage satisfaction. Sam appeared in my doorway, flanked by paramedics, his face grim with controlled fury. "Jesus Christ, Dominic! You look like hell." "Feel worse," I croaked. "But alive. Check Gerald, he's evidence too." While paramedics worked on both of us, administering counteragents to whatever poison Patricia had injected, the FBI systematically dismantled the facility's operation. They found horrors in every room, elderly residents in various stages of chemical restraint, medical records documenting false diagnoses, and a locked basement room that made even hardened agents pale. "Sir, you need to see this," an agent called to Sam. I insisted on walking, though my legs barely supported me. The basement room was a macabre trophy collection: jewelry, watches, family photographs, legal documents, all labeled with names and dates. Eleanor's missing pearl necklace sat in a box marked E. Dominic, February 2023. 17 other boxes bore dates coinciding with the deaths Rebecca had documented. "My God," Sam breathed. "They kept souvenirs." But more damning evidence filled an adjoining office: financial records detailing the entire operation. Patricia had been meticulous, documenting every dollar stolen, every asset transferred, every life ended for profit. The network extended beyond our worst estimates, reaching into medical boards, insurance companies, and judicial systems across multiple states. "Where are my sons?" I asked, though the word sons tasted like ash. Marcus was arrested at his home. Bradley, Sam hesitated. Bradley's in custody too, but Dominic, he's been cooperating. Apparently he's been recording conversations for weeks, building his own insurance policy. The betrayal shifted, revealing new angles. My younger son, the coward, had been playing all sides. The next hours blurred between medical treatment and giving statements. The drugs in my system were identified as a cocktail, designed to induce heart failure while appearing natural. Gerald had received similar doses for weeks. It was miraculous he'd survived. 7 other residents hadn't been so fortunate during Patricia's tenure. By afternoon, I was stable enough for release. Sam drove me home, where crime scene techs were still processing evidence. My house felt violated, every room tainted by Marcus's plotting. "We need to discuss something," Sam said carefully. "The Bureau wants you in protective custody. Vincent Caruso's still out there, and with this network collapsing, you're a key witness they can't afford to lose." "I'm not hiding. Eleanor didn't get that option." "Eleanor's dead because she didn't have protection. Don't make her sacrifice meaningless." He was right, but rage demanded immediate action. I wanted to confront Marcus, to see his face when he realized his carefully crafted plan had failed. But justice required patience, testimony, the slow grinding of legal machinery I'd served my entire career. That evening, the investigation's scope exploded. Patricia's computer revealed connections to similar operations in 11 states. Dr. Harrison was part of a network of medical professionals who provided cover for systematic elder abuse. The FBI estimated over 200 deaths, billions in stolen assets. Rebecca arrived with more intelligence. Vincent Caruso was arrested trying to board a flight to Costa Rica. He's already talking, trying to cut a deal. Marcus hired him to eliminate potential witnesses, including you if necessary. What about Bradley's recordings? She produced a tablet, queuing up audio files. Your younger son was terrified but greedy. He started recording after Eleanor's death, realizing Marcus might eventually target him too. Listen to this. Bradley's voice filled the room, talking to Marcus 3 weeks after Eleanor's funeral. "I don't like this, Marcus. Mom's dead, we got what we wanted. Why push Dad? Got what we wanted. We got nothing. Everything's in trust, locked up tight. Dad could live another 20 years. You want to wait that long for your share? There's enough money already. From the others, not from our family. Patricia's operation is separate from our inheritance. I'm not splitting family money with her or anyone else. Dad dies, we inherit, then we're out. Clean break. And if he doesn't die naturally, then Patricia helps nature along, like with Mom. Bradley's voice cracked. You said Mom's fall was an accident, that the drugs just made her dizzy. Christ, you're naive. Of course I pushed her. You think I'd leave that to chance? Now stop whining and handle your part, or you'll end up explaining to Dad why you helped steal 300 grand. The recording ended. Bradley had known about the murder and done nothing, making him complicit, despite his later cooperation. Over the following days, the arrests mounted. Patricia's network crumbled as co-conspirators rushed to make deals. The care facilities were raided simultaneously across 6 states, liberating hundreds of elderly victims. The media coverage was explosive. Nationwide elder murder ring exposed by federal judge. I gave dozens of interviews, always emphasizing Eleanor's role in exposing the conspiracy. Her posthumous fame as a hero who protected others even in death would have pleased her. The Eleanor Foundation gained massive support, donations pouring in from families who'd lost loved ones to similar schemes. But victory felt hollow. During Marcus's arraignment, I sat in the gallery, watching my eldest son in shackles. He'd inherited my height, Eleanor's eyes, but somewhere we'd lost him to greed. When his gaze found mine, I expected remorse, maybe shame. Instead, his eyes blazed with hatred. You destroyed everything, he screamed as bailiffs restrained him. That money was ours. You and Mom hoarded it while we struggled. Marcus lived in a $2 million home, drove luxury cars, sent his children to private schools. But entitlement is a poison that makes wealth feel like poverty when others have more. Bradley's appearance was different. My younger son looked broken, aged a decade in days. He pled guilty to financial crimes and conspiracy, accepting a deal for testimony against the others. 25 years minimum, but alive more than his victims received. Dad, he whispered as guards led him away. I'm sorry. I was weak, greedy. I let Marcus convince me that... Save it for the jury. I cut him off. Your mother deserved better sons. The investigation revealed the conspiracy's full scope. Patricia Hensley, real name Patricia Volkov, had learned her trade from her mother, who'd run similar schemes in Eastern Europe. She'd refined the approach for American markets, recruiting medical professionals targeting specific demographics, always staying steps ahead of law enforcement. Dr. Harrison broke down completely, under interrogation, confessing to falsifying hundreds of diagnoses. His medical license was revoked pending trial for murder, fraud, and conspiracy. He faced potential life sentences in multiple states. But the real shock came when forensic accountants traced the money. The offshore accounts Bradley managed contained over $40 million stolen from elderly victims. The funds were frozen, eventually returned to surviving families, or donated to elder care organizations. But the investigation also revealed Bradley had been skimming from the operation, building his own nest egg while betraying his partners. Your boys were planning to betray each other eventually. Sam told me over bourbon one evening. Honor among thieves is myth. They'd have destroyed each other without your intervention. Perhaps. But they'd destroyed Eleanor first, and that was unforgivable. The false victory was believing the arrests meant safety. 2 weeks into the investigation, I was reviewing evidence at the FBI field office when Rebecca burst in. We have a problem. 3 witnesses in other states have died, 2 heart attacks, 1 stroke. All were scheduled to testify about Patricia's operation. Natural causes? Sam asked, though we all knew better. Toxicology's still running, but the patterns are suspicious. Someone's cleaning house. Patricia had been denied bail, as had Marcus and most major players. But the network was vast, with tentacles we hadn't yet uncovered. Someone with access to the witness list was eliminating threats. Double my protection, I decided, and move up my testimony. I want to get everything on record before... The window exploded inward. I felt Sam tackle me as gunfire erupted, automatic weapons strafing the office. Security returned fire while alarms shrieked. The attack lasted 30 seconds but felt like hours. When silence fell, 2 FBI agents were wounded, one critically. The attackers had escaped, leaving only shell casings and questions. Professional hit, the tactical team leader assessed. Knew exactly where to shoot when shift changes occurred. Someone inside fed them intelligence. The investigation had revealed a criminal network. Now we faced a corrupt system protecting itself, willing to kill federal witnesses in FBI offices. The false victory was thinking arrests meant the war was over. It had just begun. The assassination attempt changed everything. Within hours, I was relocated to a secure federal facility used for witnesses in terrorism cases. My world shrank to concrete walls, bulletproof glass, and the constant presence of armed guards. But confinement gave me time to think, to see patterns others might miss. "There's a leak inside the FBI," I told Sam during a secure video call. "Someone high enough to access witness locations and schedules. Internal Affairs is investigating, but these things take time. Time we don't have. 3 witnesses are dead, and they almost got me in a federal building. Patricia's reach extends beyond what we've uncovered." Sam's expression darkened. "What are you suggesting?" "Stop playing defense. Set a trap. Make them come to us on our terms." "Absolutely not. You're a civilian witness, not bait." But I'd already decided. That night I made a call on an unsecured line, knowing it would be monitored. "Bradley, it's your father. I know you can't respond, but listen. I'm scared. The FBI can't protect me. I need to retrieve something your mother hid, evidence that could end all this. Meet me at the cabin. Bring Marcus if you can. We need to talk as a family." The guards erupted in fury when they discovered my call, but the damage was done. Within hours, intelligence chatter indicated movement in Patricia's network. The cabin meeting became a focus of intercepted communications. Sam arrived personally, rage barely controlled. "Have you lost your mind? You just painted a target on yourself." The target was already there. Now we control when and where they strike. The cabin's isolated, difficult to secure, and filled with memories of Eleanor. If I'm making a stand, it's there. The argument raged for hours, but eventually, tactical necessity won. The cabin could be fortified, approaches monitored, and a trap properly set. More importantly, my apparent desperation might draw out whoever was protecting Patricia's operation from inside law enforcement. Preparations took 3 days. The cabin, nestled in the Berkshire Mountains, became a fortress, disguised as a refuge. Hidden cameras covered every angle. Motion sensors lined the approaches. FBI tactical teams concealed themselves in the surrounding forest. And, in Eleanor's art studio, technicians installed broadcasting equipment that would stream live to multiple secure servers. I arrived at sunset on the 4th day, playing the part of a desperate old man. The cabin felt hollow without Eleanor's presence, her paintings staring down like silent witnesses. But I wasn't alone. Gerald had insisted on accompanying me. "They killed my daughter," he'd said simply. "I want to look them in the eyes." We waited as darkness fell. At exactly 9:47, the time of Marcus's nightly calls, headlights appeared on the access road. But instead of my sons, Patricia Hensley stepped out of the vehicle. She shouldn't have been there. Maximum security solitary confinement. No bail yet. Here she stood, elegant and deadly in the moonlight. Behind her, 3 men emerged carrying automatic weapons. Not thugs, professionals with military bearing. "Hello, Dominic," she called out, voice carrying clearly. "Surprised you shouldn't be. Did you really think your little investigation could stop an organization decades in the making?" How I stepped onto the porch, Gerald beside me. Money buys many things. Guards, judges, even FBI section chiefs. Deputy Director Morrison sends his regards, by the way. My blood froze. Not Sam, his boss. The corruption reached the highest levels. Bradley's not coming. Patricia continued approaching slowly. Poor boy had an accident in federal custody. Hung himself, they'll say. Grief and guilt overwhelming. You murdered my son. The words came out strangled. Marcus did, actually. Snuck in during a guard shift change. Amazing what proper credentials can accomplish. Couldn't risk Bradley testifying, revealing our broader operations. Your eldest son is quite resourceful when motivated. Where is Marcus? A figure emerged from behind the vehicles. My surviving son looked different, harder, colder, any pretense of humanity stripped away. He carried a pistol with casual familiarity. Hello, Dad. Sorry about the theatrics, but you forced our hand. You killed your own brother. Marcus shrugged. He was weak, would have broken eventually. Besides, he was skimming from us. Theft from thieves, ironic, isn't it? I fought to maintain composure while noting positions. The cameras were recording, streaming everything live. But would anyone be watching? If Deputy Director Morrison was compromised, had he redirected surveillance? What do you want? I asked. Patricia smiled coldly. Originally, your money. Now, your silence. You've become problematic, Dominic. But killing you creates martyrdom, more investigation. So we're offering a deal. What kind of deal? Retire quietly. Recant your testimony. Claim mental confusion from grief. We'll let you live out your remaining years peacefully. The foundation in Eleanor's name continues. We're not monsters. In exchange, our operations resume without interference. You want me to let you keep killing innocent elderly people? Innocent. Marcus laughed bitterly. Do you know what it's like growing up as the judge's son? Never good enough, always compared to your precious integrity. Mom understood, tried to shield us from your judgment. But you sentenced criminals with more compassion than you showed your own family. The pain in his words was real, but twisted into justification for monstrous acts. I'd been a harsh father, demanding excellence, perhaps showing more fairness to strangers than family. But that didn't excuse murder. Your mother loved you both unconditionally, I said quietly. She died trying to save you from yourselves. She died because she chose you over us. Marcus's composure cracked. Always defending you, making excuses for your coldness. Well, now you get to choose your principles or your life. Gerald stepped forward suddenly. What about my daughter? She wasn't part of any family drama. You killed her for visiting me. Patricia regarded him with detached interest. Collateral damage. She was investigating irregularities in our billing. We couldn't risk exposure. Her name was Sarah. Gerald's voice strengthened. She was a teacher, had 2 kids. You murdered a mother for asking questions about Medicare fraud. And we'll murder you for less, one of the gunmen growled, raising his weapon. Wait. I commanded, surprising everyone with the authority in my voice. Even facing death, 42 years of judicial presence carried weight. You're right about one thing, Marcus. I was a cold father, more concerned with justice than warmth. But your mother balanced, that gave you love enough for both of us. I moved slowly toward Eleanor's studio. She left something for you, both of you. A message she recorded before her death. Would you like to hear your mother's last words? Marcus hesitated, and in that moment, I saw the boy who'd once sought my approval desperately. What message? In her studio. She knew something might happen, wanted you to understand her choices. Patricia sensed a trap. Don't be stupid, it's obviously… Shut up, Marcus snapped at her. This is about my mother. We entered the studio together, weapons trained on Gerald and me. Eleanor's paintings surrounded us, family portraits from happier times, landscapes of places we'd visited, abstract expressions of joy and sorrow. Her easel still held the final painting, a self-portrait with eyes that seemed to follow movement. Where? Marcus demanded. I gestured to a covered canvas. Behind there. She hid it where only family would look. As Marcus moved the painting, I pressed the hidden transmitter button. Every camera zoomed to focus, every microphone amplified. Whatever happened next, would be broadcast live to law enforcement agencies nationwide. Marcus found the tablet I'd placed there, Eleanor's face frozen on the screen. His finger hovered over the play button, trembling slightly. For a moment, he was just a son, missing his mother. Then, Patricia entered, shattering the spell. "This is taking too long. Kill them both and—" The video began playing. Eleanor's voice filled the studio. "My dearest Marcus and Bradley, if you're watching this, then your father found the courage to share my final message. I know what you've become, what you're planning. A mother always knows." Marcus stared at the screen, transfixed. Even Patricia stopped moving. "I've watched greed poison your souls, seen you mistake material wealth for love. You think I chose your father over you, but that's not true. I chose justice over corruption, love over greed, difficult truths over comfortable lies." Tears ran down Marcus's face as Eleanor continued. "You planned to kill me, yes, I knew. The drugs in my tea, the accidents you discussed with that woman. Part of me wanted to pretend ignorance, to die believing my sons still had good in them. But that would be cowardice." "Turn it off," Patricia ordered, but Marcus didn't move. "So I gathered evidence not for revenge, but for redemption. Even if you succeed in killing me, this recording ensures you'll face consequences. Not just legal ones. Those are your father's domain. I mean the consequence of knowing your mother died, seeing exactly who you'd become." Marcus's gun hand shook. On screen, Eleanor leaned forward, her eyes full of sorrow and steel. "But I also want you to know this. I love you. Despite everything, despite the monsters you've become, you're still my sons. That love is why I must stop you. Every elderly person you target is someone's parent, grandparent, loved one. I won't let my children become serial killers." "She didn't understand," Marcus whispered. "We weren't going to kill randomly, just—" "Just what?" I asked quietly. "Just murder the vulnerable for money." Your mother understood perfectly. Eleanor's message concluded, "To whoever finds this, please tell Dominic I fought for justice until the end. Tell him to be strong to stop our sons before they damn themselves completely. And tell Marcus and Bradley that redemption is always possible. But it requires admitting truth, accepting consequences. I'll be waiting, hoping they find their way back to the light." The recording ended. Silence stretched, broken only by Marcus's ragged breathing. His gun wavered between Gerald and me, confusion replacing certainty. Patricia had no such hesitation. "Enough, kill them now or I will—" She raised her weapon, and time slowed. Marcus turned, seeing Patricia's gun aimed at me. In that instant, I saw realization dawn. This woman had corrupted him, led him to matricide, destroyed his family for profit. The gun in his hand shifted. "No," Marcus screamed, firing. Patricia staggered, looking down at the spreading crimson on her designer suit. "You fool!" she gasped. "You've killed us all." Chaos erupted. The gunman opened fire as FBI tactical teams burst through windows. I pulled Gerald down behind Eleanor's heavy easel as bullets shattered canvases. Marcus stood frozen in the crossfire, his moment of redemption becoming his last. I watched my son fall, his eyes finding mine as life faded. "Dad," he mouthed. "I'm sorry." Then darkness claimed him, and the shooting stopped. Dawn broke over a battlefield. The cabin's walls were riddled with bullets. Eleanor's paintings destroyed her sanctuary, violated by violence. But we'd survived, Gerald and I, huddled behind the easel that bore Eleanor's final self-portrait, miraculously untouched by gunfire. Patricia Hensley died en route to the hospital, her last words reportedly cursing the weakness of men. 2 of her gunmen were killed in the firefight. The 3rd surrendered and immediately began confessing to crimes across multiple states. Marcus lay where he'd fallen, his final act, one of protection rather than predation. The live broadcast of Patricia's confession and Marcus's last moments went viral within hours. Deputy Director Morrison, watching from his office, realized his corruption had been exposed to millions. He attempted to flee, but was arrested at Dallas Airport, carrying false identification and $2 million in cash. The aftermath revealed staggering corruption. Morrison had been Patricia's inside source for years, protecting her operation in exchange for percentage cuts. He'd redirected investigations, warned targets, even arranged the elimination of honest agents who got too close. His arrest triggered a massive internal review that would reshape the FBI for years. But the immediate impact was on Patricia's network. With their protector exposed and their leader dead, co-conspirators rushed to make deals. Dr. Harrison pled guilty to 17 counts of murder, receiving life without parole. The corrupt guards who'd allowed Marcus to kill Bradley were arrested, their warden indicted for accepting bribes. Over 300 elderly victims were identified across the network's history. Some had died peacefully, never knowing their children had marked them for death. Others had suffered like Eleanor, aware of betrayal, but unable to prevent it. Their stories emerged in heartbreaking detail during months of testimony. Gerald became my closest friend through the trials. We'd survived together, two old men who'd refused to be victims. His testimony about his daughter Sarah's murder was pivotal in securing death sentences for several network members in states that still practiced capital punishment. She would have wanted this, he told me after a particularly difficult day in court. Not the vengeance, but the prevention. No other family should suffer what we did. Together we transformed the Eleanor Foundation from concept to reality. Using my entire estate and donations from grateful families, we established America's first comprehensive elder protection network. Within a year, we operated hotlines in all 50 states, employed investigators specializing in family fraud, and lobbied for stricter laws protecting vulnerable seniors. The Foundation's crown jewel was the Sarah Morrison Center, named for Gerald's daughter, which trained law enforcement in recognizing elder abuse patterns. We brought in expert survivors, reformed criminals who explained exploitation tactics. No longer would predators like Patricia operate in shadows. Bradley's death haunted me despite his crimes. In prison recordings released during the investigation, he'd shown genuine remorse, planning to testify fully against the network. His murder by Marcus represented the final corruption of brotherly bonds. I arranged for both sons to be buried beside Eleanor, hoping death might grant the peace life denied. At their funeral, attended only by Gerald and me, I spoke to empty chairs. Your mother believed in redemption until her last breath. Marcus, you found it in your final moment. Bradley, it was stolen from you. I failed as a father to save you from yourselves, but I'll honor your mother's memory by saving others. The trials dragged on for 2 years. I testified in 16 states, faced defense attorneys who painted me as a vengeful father manufacturing evidence. But the recordings were undeniable, the network's own documentation, their downfall. One by one, convictions mounted. The most satisfying moment came when Vincent Caruso, the mob enforcer, who'd killed Gerald's daughter, among others, received death by lethal injection. Gerald attended the execution seeking closure. He returned looking older, but somehow lighter. "It's done," he said simply. "Sarah can rest now." My own rest remained elusive. Survivor's guilt plagued my nights. Why had I lived when Eleanor died? How had I missed the darkness growing in my sons? The foundation work helped each saved life, a small redemption, but wounds that deep never fully heal. 3 years after the cabin firefight, I received an unexpected visitor. A young woman, perhaps 30, with Marcus's eyes, but Eleanor's gentle spirit. My granddaughter Jessica, whom I'd lost contact with during the family's destruction. "Grandfather," she said hesitantly, "I know you might not want to see me, but I needed to thank you." "Thank me. Your father is dead because of my investigation." "My father was dead long before that night greed killed his soul. You saved me from becoming like him." She revealed that Marcus had been grooming her to join the operation, teaching her to see elderly relatives as resources rather than people. Watching the trial, seeing what they did to grandmother, understanding the monster my father became, It saved me from that path. Jessica had used her inheritance from Marcus's legitimate assets to become a social worker, specializing in elder care. She'd rejected the poison of greed, choosing service over exploitation. In her, I saw Eleanor's true legacy, not just justice, but the transformation of tragedy into purpose. She began visiting regularly, bringing her two young children to know their great-grandfather. Watching them play in Eleanor's garden, I felt something I'd thought lost forever: hope for the future, the continuity of family, untainted by corruption. The fourth anniversary of Eleanor's death arrived with unexpected peace. Gerald and I visited her grave, laying fresh roses on the marble headstone. Her epitaph read, "Eleanor Dominic, beloved wife, mother, and guardian of justice." "She'd be proud," Gerald observed. "The foundation saved thousands. The laws we pushed through Congress will protect millions more." I traced Eleanor's name carved in stone. She saved us all, even Marcus, in the end. Her love was stronger than their greed. That evening at 9:47, my phone rang. My heart still skipped remembering Marcus's calls. But now the voice belonged to Jennifer Walsh, the Foundation's director. "Mr. Dominic, we just received a call from an elderly man in Oregon. His daughter's been drugging him, trying to get power of attorney. Local police are responding now thanks to our protocols. Another life saved." After hanging up, I sat in Eleanor's studio, now restored with new paintings by local artists she'd mentored. Her final self-portrait watched over the room, those knowing eyes, holding secrets and strength. "We did it, my love," I whispered. "Your death became a shield for others." Marcus found redemption in his last moment. Even Bradley showed courage before the end. Our family was broken, but from those pieces we've built something beautiful. The phone rang again, Jessica calling to confirm Sunday dinner. Then, Gerald texted about tomorrow's golf game. The Foundation director emailed about expanding to Canada. Life had grown around grief, like flowers through concrete, fragile but persistent. Justice isn't just punishment, it's prevention, protection, and the possibility of redemption. Eleanor knew this tried to save our sons, even while gathering evidence of their crimes. She failed with them, but succeeded with thousands of others through the Foundation bearing her name. Every night at 9:47, I still receive calls. Now they bring hope instead of fear, reports of lives saved rather than threats of death. Marcus's ritual of surveillance has become a reminder of vigilance against exploitation. In seeking to destroy, he created the very thing that would prevent others from following his path. Some wounds never heal completely. I'll always wonder if different choices might have saved my sons from themselves. But from tragedy can come transformation. Eleanor's murder exposed a nationwide conspiracy. My son's greed funded its destruction. Gerald's loss became motivation for change. Even Patricia's evil served purpose. Her meticulous records helped convict hundreds who might otherwise have escaped. The elderly deserve dignity, not exploitation. Families should be sources of support, not schemes. Trust shouldn't be a vulnerability. These simple truths drive the Foundation's work, ensuring no parent dies betrayed by those they loved most. As I write this, Jessica's children play in the next room, their laughter echoing through halls once filled with conspiracy and death. Gerald teaches them chess, patient with their young minds. The future stretches before them, bright with possibility rather than dark with greed. Eleanor's last words to me were, "Be strong." I've tried, my love. Strong enough to survive our son's betrayal. Strong enough to see justice done. Strong enough to build from ashes. Strong enough to hope again. Tonight, when 9:47 arrives, I'll answer the phone without fear. Someone needs help. And because of Eleanor's sacrifice, help will come. That's her true monument, not marble and epitaphs, but living protection for the vulnerable. In seeking to steal an inheritance, our sons created a legacy of salvation. Justice served, redemption found, love endures. If you've stayed with me through this painful journey, Thank you. Sharing my family's tragedy isn't easy, but silence enables predators like Patricia Hensley to flourish. Every elderly person deserves protection. Every family needs awareness of these dangers. Have you noticed concerning changes in how family members treat elderly relatives? Strange questions about finances. Sudden interest in power of attorney isolation from other family and friends. Don't ignore these warning signs. The Eleanor Foundation stands ready to help to investigate, to protect. Please share this story with others. Awareness is our strongest weapon against elder exploitation. Like this video if it opened your eyes to dangers facing our vulnerable seniors. Subscribe to hear more stories of justice and redemption of ordinary people facing extraordinary evil and triumphing. Most importantly, comment below if you or someone you know needs help. Our foundation monitors these messages, ready to assist. You're not alone, and it's never too late to seek justice. Thank you for listening to my story. Eleanor's story, really. She saved me even in death, transformed our family's destruction into nationwide protection. May her courage inspire you to protect those you love, to stand against exploitation, and to believe that even from the deepest tragedy, hope can bloom. Stay strong, stay vigilant, and remember, love is always stronger than greed. With gratitude and hope for your family's safety, Dominic.